problem in Bangladesh arises when the policy, those who give the policy options also try to give policy decisions. Please forgive me for saying so, but I'm saying this because this is exactly what we are observing today in Bangladesh. I hope you understand what I mean. I'll say a few more words on that at a later stage. But before that, as the introduction, I'd like to conclude by saying that I am in fact here as a square peg in a round hole. And adding with that statement which was mentioned by Dr. Ashik in the Churchill's statements, let me add one more sentence. When a politician, there's another quote which says, when a politician says yes, it means maybe. And when a politician says maybe, it means no. When a politician says no, he is not at all a politician. This is also why a famous parliamentarian coming from England who said this a few centuries ago, but I believe the statement is very much valid still today. Let me come to the point. As I said, I'll not be speaking as an expert, but as a representative of the common people who don't understand economic theories. Because I didn't have the opportunity to learn econ from textbooks of Samuelson or Keynes. Rather, I tried to learn a bit of economics from a more popular approach. Let me say, from the famous book by Gunnar Myrdal from Sweden. So that is a more popular, the Asian drama. That is a more popular approach to economics from the common people point of view. So whatever I'll be saying today will be more in the line of a people's view and not from the textbook approach. So let me start from the concept of GDP to tax ratio. You all condemn, say, Bangladesh GDP to tax ratio is worst, possibly worst in the world, lowest in the world, right? But I'm not worried. You know why I'm not worried? Because who are the taxpayers in this country? You must take that factor into account. You also take into account the ratio of the taxpayers to the total population in this country. And this is extremely low. So when you are talking about tax to GDP ratio and compare that between various countries of the world, you must also compare that make another column in a table where you also list the percentage of taxpayers to the total population ratio of those countries. And only then you may understand why the tax to GDP ratio in the Bangladesh is one of the lowest, or perhaps the lowest in the world. The fact of the matter is, in Bangladesh, the truth is, speaking from the common people's point of view, there is a large chunk of population who are not capable of paying taxes because they are poor people. So I would request the textbook economists to take all those popular factors into account when you formulate your theories and your opinion. So this is about tax to GDP ratio. And to elaborate further on that, you must realize that Bangladesh economy is mostly in the non-conventional sector. It's not in the textbook, it's not in the books of account, it's not in the NBR, the former chairman is here. I think he will substantiate with me. He will support me when I say that the most of the income that is generated in this country is not in the books of accounts of the NBR. And it's generally assumed that at least 70% of Bangladesh economy is not in the books of account. So when you give solutions or when we discuss theories which are in the textbooks of economy and try to apply them to the economy of Bangladesh, it doesn't work. Bangladesh are not the real inflation figures. Because when the prices go up, the government body which calculates and publishes the inflation figures, they're always under pressure to lower it down. And also, when you calculate the inflation figures, there's weightage between various items in the market and all that. And for Bangladeshis, where the people's largest chunk of the expenditure is on food items, unlike in many other countries. For instance, in the USA, until now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but until now, the expenditure on the food items is one of the smallest proportion of his total expenditure. Unlike in Bangladesh, where I would say 60 to 70% of the expenditure goes on food items and housing in Bangladesh. So when one calculates the inflation figures in Bangladesh, the weightage, appropriate weightage must be given to the nature of the expenditure. Otherwise, the figure that is quoted by the government is 10%, of the order of 10% right now. I don't think this is the real figure. And in the past, we have seen in the previous government, the figures of inflation they had quoted was totally out of context with the reality of the country. So this is about the inflation. Next time, what I would like to say is about the, we have just heard about the taka to dollar ratio. Now, possibly for the first time in I do not know, in 30, 40, 50 years, for the first time, we have seen for once at least that Bangladesh taka has appreciated against the dollar. I do not know in my lifetime I have seen any other occasion where it happened. Now, what I heard is Bangladesh government intervened. Why did they intervene? That's my big question. And I will justify, because Bangladesh is basically an import-oriented country. We know our foreign exchange depends on the exports of the garments and so on and so forth. But basically, when you, and I'm trying to link this with the inflation. When we talk about the consumer index, the imported items prices would go up when the taka falls against dollar, and when the taka, if and when, at least for once, when taka gained against dollar, the consumer price index will go down. So why should the Bangladesh government intervene? I don't understand this from the common point, from the viewpoint of a common citizen of Bangladesh. Maybe the economists may have good reasons to justify why did the Bangladesh bank intervene. So Zaidi mentioned about the free floating rates. So if you in principle accept the IMF and the World Bank prescriptions that taka should be allowed to freely float, then why should Bangladesh bank intervene when taka appreciates against the dollar? That's my big question. I don't understand it. Maybe you understand and you may have big explanations, but common people don't understand that. So this is another issue, and there are so many issues I can raise, and you can tell me that, as I said, a square peg in a round hole. You can say that what Dr. Khan is saying is all rubbish from the economic theory point of view, but I'm not talking from the economic theory point of view. I'm talking Mr. Trump as an example.